Hello, I hope you are well. Welcome back to my channel. I have another Unhaul video. I have so many books here, loads of different genres. We've got some graphic novels, children's fiction, adult fiction, manga in here, comics, children's books, loads going on. So I'm just going to get straight into it. So first up, we have Clever Polly and the Stupid Fox by Catherine Storr. I adore this cover. I think it's so gorgeous. And it's a classics fiction about this girl who's outsmarting this wolf. So it's a series of stories. It's for children. And she's just outsmarting him at different points. I thought the drawings in it were absolutely stunning. The illustrations, just really quaint and gorgeous, but it was very repetitive. And I know that in children's fiction, it's difficult to kind of talk about things that aren't your genre. So I feel children's books are obviously written for children. So me as an adult giving my opinion on it, it doesn't really mean anything. It's whether a child would like it or not. There are books flying everywhere. But I found it so repetitive, but children do like that kind of repetitiveness of stories. But for me personally, it was just too repetitive. It wasn't for me, but there were elements that I did enjoy within it. The book that's fallen on the floor is The Love Factory by Lane Proctor. Oh God. Okay. This is about a woman who she writes books that no one reads. She's an unsuccessful author. She then decides she's going to write erotica and she's going to give that a go. So she starts trying to write this romance story and everything. And this isn't an erotic novel or anything like that at all. She starts trying to write this and then realizes that she's not actually very fulfilled within her own life. She is married. She has a husband. She has kids. But she doesn't know she's really felt true romance. So she doesn't know how to write about it. It's also, I felt more about her relationship with her friends and her friends giving their opinions on different things to do with like sex and love. And I found that more interesting, her talking with her friends. And she has these conversations with them, which is obviously trying to get stuff out of them so she can use it in her book. So they're opening up to her about how they feel about love. I thought it was an interesting book. I'm not going to reread it. I did enjoy it at the time. I remember really enjoying it. It's not erotic fiction at all. There's not any of that kind of like pasted into it. I think there is a little bit, actually, to be fair, a little bit of like kind of desire and stuff like that. But it was a good book. It's not my genre. That kind of thing, it's just not my genre. It makes me uncomfortable. But I did actually enjoy this. It was good, but I'm not going to reread, so I don't need to keep that. I then have The Dogs of Littlefield by Susan Byrne. This is about some dogs start being killed, and they're in the perfect neighbourhood. So think like Stepford Wives, everything's perfect, and then these dogs are being killed and all this weird stuff's happening. And they're thinking, well, who could possibly do this? Because we're all so perfect. And then our main character is really going into her life, and her life isn't as perfect as what it seems. It was okay. It was an all right read. I'm not going to reread it. I haven't read anything else by the author, but it was, again, an okay read, but there's no point me really keeping hold of it. We then have this for children, and this is like a comic book. It's Vern and Lettuce by Sarah McIntyre. I thought this was really fun. I really love the art style. I think it's so cute. It's so gorgeous, and it's just about these little animals and the adventures that they get up to. And it's just all these gorgeous pastel colours. I thought it was gorgeous. And then look, they're on the tube. The cover is them on the tube, on the escalator at the tube. Oh, I just thought it was really cute. But again, I'm not going to read it, and it had that same repetitive themes and elements within it, which a lot of children's books have, but it was okay, but I'm not going to reread. Let's try a manga then. We have Yona of the Dawn, which I don't think I've got rid of any of my mangas in any of my Unhaul videos yet, but mangas are very expensive, okay? If there's a chance I'm going to reread, I'm going to keep hold of them. Why are they so expensive, manga books? But anyway, this I enjoyed, but I didn't enjoy it enough to reread on. So this is book one, so Yona of the Dawn. It's about a girl on her 16th birthday. She's a princess. Her dad is king of the kingdom, and someone invades the palace, kills her father. This boy then helps her escape. Think Anastasia. You know, in Anastasia, when Dimitri helps her out, and then years later it's it was me. But oh no, her grandmother's it was you, the boy. Sorry. Anyway, so this boy helps her. And he's going to kind of just take her to safety. So it's a survivalist. So they're trying to get away, and he's going to take her to safety. And then she wants him to teach her how to fight, because she actually wants revenge. She just doesn't want to be put in a little village and live a safe little life. She wants revenge for what they've done to her father. And it's about their relationship, which I'm guessing is going to blossom into a romance throughout the story. I didn't love it enough to reread on. I didn't love the art style. I thought it was very basic. I'll show you there. And I've read other mangas series where the art style is just stunning. I remember there was one called Food Wars, which I remember I used to talk about that all the time, and it was about this boy who worked in his dad's restaurant. Not a lot happened. It wasn't like a big action-packed manga. He worked in his dad's restaurant, and it was about kind of his relationships and with his friends and his love interests. And then throughout the book, it would have him cooking up different food at the restaurant. And I just thought the art style of it, everything about it, I felt like I was transported into Japan. I absolutely adored it so much. But with Tokyo Ghoul, I remember like the art style was so graphic and gory, and it was just like epic art style, whereas with this it's pretty like standard art style, but I didn't love the plot enough to go on with it, so I'm not gonna read that series, so I don't really need to keep that because I'm not going to reread that anyway. We then have Nadine Dreams of Home by Bernard Ashley. It's about a girl called Nadine who she moves to England from Goma, but it wasn't her choice. So her country has been taken over by rebels, and then she has to start this new life in England, and she's used to having like hearing bombs being dropped and gunshots and thinking that she's going to die in the night, and then all of a sudden she's in England and she just got to like go to school and live this normal life and almost forget about the things that happened back home and what's happening to her loved ones back home as well. I thought it was a really interesting book. I enjoyed it, but again, I'm not going to reread it. But it was really interesting about how it's like, oh, you should be happy because you're now in England. But obviously she's thinking, well, I've still got loved ones at home and I've still got all the trauma from everything that happened. I know I'm grateful to be here, but there's also this trauma within her as well, which I thought was really interesting. An interesting book. I did like that. I then have Midas Flesh. It's a graphic novel. This is volume 1, and this is about, you know, the Greek myth, the Midas touch, where the Greek god King Midas, he gets granted the wish that everything he touches turns to gold. So this is set in post-apocalyptic times, and the Greek god Midas turned the whole of Earth into gold. So Earth is encased in gold. No one lives there anymore. And then Joey and his team, who are on a spaceship. So this is getting madder and madder as I'm like, look at me saying it as if it's like normal. So these people in space, they also have a dinosaur on their team. I'm not even joking. On the spaceship, there's a dinosaur. There he is, like on the cover there, and he's just chilling with them. He's just hanging out, and they all go to Earth. They decide they're going to go to Earth, and so it's them in their ship, and then also I'll give you a little look at the art style, and then it's going back in time to how did this happen? How did the Earth get turned to gold by Midas, and going into the Greek myth, and then like weaving it into present day. I thought it was really interesting. I'm trying to get that little. Oh, here we go. The dinosaur. Look, he was so funny in it. I remember it being funny. It's got like comical parts within it. I didn't love it enough to reread on, but I liked the idea of like this Greek myth being weaved in. I really liked the art style of everything when it was turned to gold. I really thought that was really cool how they did that. So yeah, I really liked it. I enjoyed it, but not enough to reread on. And I'm not gonna reread it. I'm not gonna read on. I'll just get rid of it. I don't need to keep it. Another graphic novel I have is Saga. This is volume 2. I liked Saga volume 1. Volume 2, I just didn't connect to, and that's where I stopped. I didn't read anymore. I just couldn't. I couldn't get into it. I think I might have got volume 3 from the library, and then I didn't finish it. I just couldn't get into it enough. It changes a lot, I feel. Saga Volume 1 is very much about their relationship and what's going on with the two of them, the two main characters. And then obviously she gives birth to a baby and they're together, they're this couple, and they give birth, it's like post-apocalyptic, and they're all like different species and stuff. Like the man's got ram horns. It's all very odd. And I liked volume 1, but volume 2, I didn't really care too much about the action side of it. I wanted their relationship a little bit more. And I think that's why I never read on in the series. But it's been so long, but I just don't want to reread it. But for me, it wasn't really my thing. Here's the cover. I think it's a gorgeous cover. I love like the pink in the background of it. I think it's gorgeous, but I'm not going to reread on, so we can get rid of that. I then have a comic, Miss Marvel. I had the Miss Marvel full volume, volume 1, and then I didn't get volume 2. I just got the individual comics because I don't think it had come out in volume 2 yet. So I'd got them. It's about this girl who's from a Muslim family. She's a superhero. It's a brand new superhero. I wish that they'd do a film on it, and I thought it was interesting. It was also interesting about like traditional Muslim culture, and then she's more modern day, so it was kind of putting those two things into it as well, which was interesting because obviously I don't know anything about that subject, but I thought it was good. It's just a comic. I don't need to keep that. I'm not going to reread it. I then have this, which is kind of a strange one. This is The Trees of Britain and Northern Europe, a central guide, 1,500 illustrations in cover, and it's just different trees. So if you go out and see one, you can like spot them. So it's a really cool old book, but I never use it. I never look at it. There's never anything that I like, I'm going to look that up. I also live in a city. I don't live near a single tree. So it's sitting on my shelf, not doing anything. But it's a good book. It's odd, isn't it? When like you don't have the room for stuff, but then you're still like, that's such a good book. I want to keep hold of it, but I don't read it. I don't make any use of it. So I feel just give it to the charity shop and someone else can make use of that because I don't at all. We then have, this is like multiple editions now. So when I see like a book that I love in a charity shop, I'll sometimes buy it in a different edition than what I've already read it, so I'll reread it I don't know why I do it. I just do it. The only ones that I'm going to allow myself to keep that are multiple editions of the same book is Frankenstein. I'm probably not going to get rid of my editions of Frankenstein. I've read every edition that I have of Frankenstein. It's my favourite book of all time. I'm going to allow myself to keep multiple editions of that book that I already have, but other things I don't really see the point. And it's because I pick books up secondhand in charity shops. If I see it, I'm like, I might as well get it because it's here, but I don't really need it. So I'm going to start off with Peter Rabbit, my editions of Peter Rabbit. So this is the newest edition. They all come with a white dust jacket, which I don't know where those dust jackets went. I must have got rid of them. And then it just has this blue cover underneath, really gorgeous. You open them up and it's plain. As you'll know, I'll show you an older one. They used to have pictures on it, but these are just plain. And then it goes straight into the story, and it's a little Peter Rabbit book. I don't think I like these newer editions. I really do like the blue, but I don't think I like these as much as the older editions, so I'm going to get rid of them. All the blue edition ones that I have, I'm getting rid of. They then have another one, which is this kind of green, which is the slightly older editions that they brought out. And then, and the inside is how you'll remember Peter Rabbit, like that, with all the characters, over it, which I think is gorgeous. These editions, I think I'm going to get rid of as well. I'm a hoarder, I'm sorry. We then, there we go, you can see with the white covers what it's like. So the white cover ones I think I'm going to get rid of and just keep squirrel nutkin and just keep the older editions. I have some older editions here, so I just think these are a little bit nicer. That's what they used to look like. I don't know, I just think they just have kind of a nicer feel to them. Then the newer ones have kind of a plasticky feel. I like the newer ones as well though, but they have this kind of plasticky feel. So I think in charity shops I'm just going to pick up the older editions and get rid of any newer ones. This is an older one as well. And I don't know, it just has a nicer feel to it for me personally. So I'm going to get rid of those. I just looked at this, I do have another edition of Peter Rabbit, which is still on my shelf. So I have a tiny Peter Rabbit book, and then I got Peter Rabbit in this big edition, which I love. It's so gorgeous with like full colour page. Oh my god, look at it. It's so gorgeous. One thing I will say is the pages aren't shiny. You know, in children's books the pages are normally shiny. This just feels kind of just like thick card. It hasn't got that shine to it. It would have been nice with a shine. But there's those. And I'm going to get rid of one edition. Okay, I can't keep two of the same book of Peter Rabbit. I'm going to get rid of the little edition, and then I can keep the bigger edition and read that to my son. I think the bigger edition is the newer edition, even though, oh my god, look at it, even though it doesn't have any kind of shine to it, it's still really nice. I feel like this will be easier to read to my son because it's a big edition. So yeah, I'm culling my Peter Rabbit collection so I don't have loads of books in the same editions. I'm just getting rid of them. The same with Bramley Hedge. The day has come where I've run out of space to keep different editions. So the Bramley Hedge, you'll probably know them as this size, and they are in a box set of this size. This is the staircase story, but I have the exact same edition in a picture book. So I'll show you what the difference is. So you've got like a big picture book. It's the exact same story. The greens are different shades. They're not completely the same. The illustrations are obviously exactly the same inside, and the story's exactly the same. I think I'm going to keep the big picture book editions and get rid of the little books, because again, I think this will just be easier when I'm reading it to my son. Does anyone else have this problem, or is it just me that I have multiple editions of the same book? But and also, I think there's something kind of special about if I'm reading a book to my son, that this is the book that I read to him. If there's three editions I have of Peter Rabbit, then it's like, oh, I don't know what one my mum used to read to me, because there's 3 different editions here. But if there's only one edition, do you get my logic? Then it will mean more to him, that book. So he'll be like, oh, there's only one edition. This is the book that she must have read to me when I was a kid. And I like that sentimental value to it. Whereas if there's loads of different editions, do you really love them as much? I suppose with my Frankenstein as well. I have the gorgeous Barnes & Noble Frankenstein, but my true Frankenstein is one that's falling apart. It's just a Penguin Classics black cover. I don't really like the cover on it, but it's tabbed. I've tabbed it all. I've underlined. There are pages falling out. It's been on holiday to France with me. I've read it multiple times. That's more loved. So do I need multiple editions? I don't know. But it's such a state that maybe like, I don't want to reread it again. Look at me trying to justify the hoard. So then I need a newer edition so that I don't damage that sentimental edition. I don't know. With the Peter Rabbit, I don't have any sentimental value to it, or with Bramley Hedge, because I never read them as a child. So I don't mind getting rid of them and culling them and just having the stories in what format I want it, or what format's going to be easier to read. Let's move on. I'm talking too much about Bramley Hedge and Peter Rabbit as always. So let's move across. We have Avalon High. This is the Merlin Prophecy. Meg Cabot. I thought it was okay. It's a manga, but I thought it was okay, but I didn't love it. It's set in a high school. If you like kind of high school or superpower manga, then you'll really like this. This will be for you. This is a successful series. I know people really like it, but for me, I didn't love it, so I didn't reread on it, so there's no point in me keeping that. I then have another old friend. We got rid of the Duff in the last Unhaul video, a friend that I've spoken about on the channel, a book that I hated with a passion and had to keep telling you how much I hated it. We now have Slammed by Colleen Hoover. I tabbed all the moments in it that I hated. So I'm just going to take all the tabs out. Thank God I didn't underline it so the book isn't ruined and I can just give it to the charity shop. It's about a girl who, she's really into slam poetry. And then it's about her teacher and her start a relationship, a sexual relationship, romantic, and he is in his 20s and she's a teenager, so the book's kind of saying it's not a big deal because it's not like he's 40 and she's a child. It's not that kind of thing, but obviously it is a big deal because it's the power that he has over her that he could use, obviously being a teacher, being older. I just thought he was not very nice. I didn't like the romance within it. I remember there was a scene where he threw her in a shower. So she was arguing justifiably with him about something, and then he picked her up, put her in the shower, took her to the bathroom, put her in the shower, turned on the shower so she was soaked in cold water. He then locked her in the bathroom, and it was very much like, he knows what I need, he knows how to calm me down. I was like, that's so abusive. If my daughter came to me and said that her boyfriend had done that to me, I'd be absolutely horrified. He then fights one of her classmates and gets away with it because he wanted to be with her and he was jealous of a classmate, and so he gets in a physical fight with him. He'd be fired long ago. But I suppose it's fantasy. It's kind of, I'm learning more about Colleen Hoover. It's not really, I don't feel she's saying, oh, this is like good or anything. It's just fantasy, kind of the fantasy that you might have if you have like a teacher that you fancy at school, and she's obviously made it that kind of reality. I just didn't like the relationship within it. It wasn't for me. I've never read another Colleen Hoover. I know she's really successful. People love her books. Maybe you absolutely adore her books. But for me personally, I didn't love it. A lot of her books have been turned into films, but Slammed has never been turned into a film, which is interesting because a lot of them have been turned into different things, but no one's ever done anything with Slam. So it'd be interesting if it was turned into a film, what things they would change from the book. But for me, I'm sorry, Slammed. I didn't like you. I have been quite harsh about you on the channel. You're not for me. I really didn't like you. Let's say goodbye. And that's all the books that I'm going to unhaul today. So I'm going to end the video here. Like the video if you liked it. Comment down below. Tell me if you like these kind of videos, the unhaul videos, the book videos. Let me know. And I will see you again soon for another video.